I'll give you your hat back. Sorry, guy.
Never met someone that has the same size head as me. You got a big head, bro. Big head, big brain. All right, MAVIC Mini. Let's see what's inside. Oh, this is nice. Comes with a little case. Holy crap, this is, oh my God, this is very light. It's a MAVIC Mini. This is crazy how light this is. Holy crap. The gimbal looks like normal gimbal, 3-axis gimbal, so that's an improvement from the Spark. All right, so in the combo kit, looks like you got a couple of batteries. God, how do you get these batteries out? This can't be that complicated. I mean, I've figured out complicated stuff before. Oh my. Just give it a really solid whack. Okay, there's a little tiny mechanism here. You gotta really just pinch it. Wow. The battery weighs almost as much as the drone. Same size controller as we're used to before. What the hell are these? We are now bowling with the bumper lanes on. One thing they did not perfect on this is how to get this gimbal in here. Wait, hold on. I think I got it. I got it. All right, so this goes down there first, and then that. Oh yeah. Little screwdriver. So you can take the propellers off if you need to. I mean, why would you take the propellers off? Hey, what's that in your pocket? Are you happy to? I mean, we've seen this trick before. The MAVIC Air can fit in your pocket. Got one right here. Fits right in the middle of these two. Although it's actually smaller. Can't quite fit that one. Oh. I mean, I'm actually stoked because it just validates these shirts. So what is the big deal? Why is this marketed as 249 grams? And what does it exactly mean? See that little marking right there? This is the holy grail. If you go to the FAA website, you'll see that you have to register drones over 250 grams. Anything under that is technically a hobbyist toy. So that means you can fly under the radar. The FAA has no jurisdiction. We can fly this drone wherever we want.
Your drone is at 1,500 feet and unlawfully entering commercial airspace. Land immediately.
Oh, you're overreacting. It's totally fine.
I will be forced to take control. LAX Control Tower 109er. We have a flyaway.
Holy crap, I always wanted to see the US Bank building. Calm down, it weighs as much as a sandwich.
Joshua, this is your final warning. Taking command in 3, 2, 1.
I'm just gonna call the FAA.
An operator will be with you shortly. Do not wish to hold. Send us your questions to
Yeah, I had a question about drones under 250 grams.
FAA does govern the the drone flights.
Regardless of the weight class.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so here's the skinny. If you're a Part 107 pilot like I am, you still have to register your drones whenever you're using it commercially. So it doesn't matter if I'm flying with this or with this. The second thing to know, the FAA still governs drones, whether they're hobbyist or whether they are classified as multi-rotors over 0.55 pounds. The rules are the same. You have to fly with visual line of sight. You can't fly after dark. You have to fly below 400 feet. You can't fly above people who are not a part of your crew. All of the same safety rules that you would think apply still apply. The only difference is you just don't have to register this drone. Ironically, with these guards on, it's over 250 grams, so you would. All right, but I think the big winner here is Canadians, because as of January 2019, Transport Canada made it mandatory that you had to pass a pilot's license certificate in order to operate one of these drones, whether it was commercially or recreationally. But that was only good for drones 250 grams and up. This one, you don't need to register with Transport Canada, and you also don't need to pass that test. And how do I know all this? Because I called Transport Canada too. This is Tom Scooter from 233 Black Bureau Lane. I had a question about drones over 250. Babe, do you mind driving so I can do a speed test?
I'm already driving.
All right, perfect. Speed test. According to the FAA, you can actually fly from a moving vehicle as long as it's not an aircraft and as long as it's in a sparsely populated area. Let's see how fast this thing can go in sport mode. So what's interesting to know is DJI now has a new app for this too. It's called DJI Fly. So I'll be frank, in order to make the featherweight division, they had to strip out some functions. The biggest being the app. Instead of the DJI Go 4, you now have a DJI Fly app, which operates the same. It's just a much more streamlined, simplistic app. The biggest complaint I have being you can't control manual exposure when in video mode. I will say the auto exposure and the white balance were pretty accurate most of the time. Now, even though it's a simple app, there are some fun features that carried over from its predecessors. Things like the quick shot functions, relatively easy to operate. It's just drag and click. Now, they didn't include all of them, but I was able to do a 4K time lapse and hyperlapse using the built-in photo timer. The 12 megapixel camera is a bump up from the Spark. It offers 2.7K max resolution as well as 60 frames per second at 1080 on a 24mm field of view. Now on paper, the 40 megabits per second isn't that impressive, but out in the field, the image quality fits squarely between the Spark and the MAVIC Air. It's not nearly as good as the MAVIC Air with 100 megabits per second recording, but it is noticeably better than the Spark. So they stripped away most of all of the sensors, so you don't have the hand gestures, you also don't have obstacle avoidance sensors. They did leave you 2 position sensors, so this works as obstacle avoidance when you're coming down, but it mostly is just a position lock, so when you don't have GPS signal and indoors with lots of light, it works spot on. The motors are surprisingly strong, capable of lifting some additional weights, which could give some creative ideas for episodes in the future. Ha, that weighs 135 grams. That's 55% of this drone's weight. The battery life, despite this thing being hard to pull out, lasts quite a long time. DJI says 30 minutes per charge. I found it closer to be around 25, but I wasn't running it that low. My biggest complaint is the artificial sharpening. There's no custom profile, so you can't change this, you can't soften it. The only way to soften it is in post, which isn't that big of a deal. It takes me 2 seconds, and that's basically it. It's a stripped down, bare bones drone. You can fit it in your pocket, you can fly it in Canada. It's surprisingly robust. Oh my God, that still hurt. Oh, wow. Did it draw blood? I think if you're just starting out with drones, you don't want an overly complex menu. You want something simple that's just ready to fly and film, then for sure. And I also think it's gonna be a huge hit with our Canadian friends who don't wanna go through a whole registration and licensing process just to fly a little, little tiny drone. The gentleman at the FAA also let me know that later on this year, we're gonna be following Canada in requiring people to take a general aeronautical test. Everyone who registers a drone is gonna have to take a test. So if you fly this drone, you won't have to register it, you won't have to take that test. The funny thing is that it won't actually let me take off within a mile of an airport. I live pretty close to that border. I thought for sure that the new app meant it had some sort of different geo-fencing program, one that was less restrictive, that was a little bit more appropriate for drones its size. Not the case at all. It has the same restricted areas that you clearly should not be flying a drone in, like airports, etc. As for me, I'll definitely come up with something creative. I already found something I like about it. Anyway, be safe, follow the rules. If you guys were concerned about those drone shots in the beginning, those were aerials from a project I did 3 years ago, so don't call the FAA. They've already heard enough from me. Happy Halloween. Go make some art. Let's try that one more time. I obviously don't learn my lessons.